Okay, good afternoon. My name is Alain Pellen. I'm with Thomson Video Networks, and maybe I should make a statement. There is no relationship between Thomson Video Networks and Thomson Reuters. I've been asked several times, so there is no relationship. We are an encoder vendor. We make encoders, we make headends, and that's what we do, and we've done for many years. So this presentation is about HEVC and OTT. So this is a slow start. I will start with the obvious. The OTT audience is growing, so this is not news to anyone. Obviously, the video usage is changing. People are using tablets, a smartphone to access video. People are becoming used to catch-up TV services and to replay services. There is more content online with, thanks to broadcasters. They want to develop their brand on all screens. And of course, you see more pay TV operators, so cable TV operators, satellite TV operators, IPTV or telcos, deploy more OTT services as a complement to their broadcast offer most of the time. So their idea, of course, is to reduce churn. So most of the time they include the OTT service free of charge inside the package. So the only reason for doing that is just to avoid seeing people just cut their subscription and move away from pay TV. So apparently from discussions that we have had with satellite pay TV operators, it is actually working. The churn is actually being reduced by offering these OTT services. So as a conclusion for this slide, audience is really increasing. As audience is increasing, at the same time, OTT is actually slowly transitioning to broadcast quality. It's becoming like a platform, just another platform to provide television and content to the home. So we are not completely quite there yet, but this is the direction. So today we see OTT mainly going to tablets and smartphones and PCs. But it's starting also to go, and in some countries it's going a lot, to the large television. And at this point, there is something that will happen is that the viewers are making a difference between the different video quality that they can get from OTT and from other platforms such as satellite, terrestrial, cable. And so in the mind of people, there is like a level of a reference of video quality, which is for Europe, it is the terrestrial HDTV. In most countries in Europe, HDTV is encoded at 5 megabit HD, so 1080i. It gives you a very decent quality. It gives you the resolution of 1080i, and it gives you the 50 Hertz refresh for a smooth rendering of all the motion of sports, right? On the other hand, what we have seen with our customers is that HD is deployed over OTT at 720p 25, which doesn't give you the resolution quite, and doesn't give you the 50 Hertz refresh rate. So it's okay for movies, because they are produced in 24 Hertz, but it's not really nice if it is displayed on a television for video, sports, any video that has been produced in 50 Hertz. So on large display, you will see a jerkiness due to this 25 Hertz display. And the larger the display, the more annoying the jerkiness of the content. And display are just growing every year. The average size for a television sold in 2013 is 40 inches, so that's 1 meter. And that's 5 centimeters more than last year. So it's growing all the time, in fact. So there is clearly a need for OTT to push this 50 frame per second refresh rate. And there is a need also to improve the resolution for movies, to get from 720p to 1080. So if you add this audience growth and this need for HD or for more HD stream, of course the traffic is increasing, and this I took some statistics from Sandvine. They're showing that the video is already the first category of traffic on the internet. In Europe, it's only 40%. That's at peak time. In APAC and in North America, it's up to 68% already. So if you look at the amount of data per user, on average, it's 4.5 gigabit in Europe only, where in North America, it's already 27 gigabyte. And that's a 40% growth. So this is a huge growth in video traffic. And it's going to continue, apparently, if you trust the Cisco VNI website. So at the same time, there is a little problem with that is met with some of our customers, is that the revenue cannot be really measured. There is an obvious benefit of OTT. For example, for pay TV operators, they deploy these OTT services, and they see the churn decrease. So there is an obvious benefit. However, it's hard to measure, the revenue associated to these OTT services. On the other hand, it is very easy to measure the cost associated to these OTT services, because especially for satellite pay TV operators or for broadcasters who don't own their own network, so they need to rely on some third-party CDN and other to distribute the content. And one of our customers mentioned that the average bitrate now for their service is over the peak bitrate of a few months ago. So the cost of the distribution of OTT services that used to be in the noise level, is becoming very visible, and it's becoming a concern for this type of customers. So the cost of distribution is really need to be optimized, I would say. The first, so this is the ideas. So the first idea to optimize the cost is to remove the HD. Okay, so it's not really an option. It's not what the customers want to have. It's not going to work for to improve the branding. It's not going to work for reducing the churn. So it's not an option. So that's almost a joke. The other thing that you hear all the time is that the access network bandwidth is going to be increased with the deployment of LTE and more fiber optic. But that will not solve the issue of cost, because if you take the ABR protocol, the adaptive bitrate protocol, it has been designed to fill up the pipes. So it's if you get the bandwidth, then you will be able to download the highest bitrate, or the highest bitrate of the content. So it will only add to the cost. In fact, it will also add, of course, to the quality of experience. That's for sure. So the only, maybe not the only, but obviously the ideal solution is to improve the compression efficiency. And today, pretty much everybody is using H.264. H.264 was designed in 2003. Now we are really at the end of, we have gone as far as we could, we believe, for the efficiency of H.264. Maybe in the next few years, we'll be able to achieve an additional 5% or a few percent. But that will require a lot of money, because each percent that you gain now on H.264 is a lot of investment in R&D and in algorithm development. So we'd rather not continue to work and invest on H.264. We'd prefer to jump to a new standard, which is the HEVC standard, and which has much more tools that will allow us to go down into the bitrates. So as I said, it is a standard. So it is a standard that was developed by ITU and MPEG with the goal to halve the bitrate of H.264 and to address higher resolution than HD. So typically Ultra HD, 4K, 8K. Okay. So this is the result of 3 years of hard work with hundreds of people, hundreds of companies, universities, and it has been adopted in early 2013. So because it is a standard, this is the advantage of a standard is to be able to offer a system that will be interoperable with between encoders and decoders, and everyone knows the specs and can implement the solution. So what is it? First of all, it is not really a revolution. HEVC is not a complete different scheme of encoding compared to H.264. Most of the H.264 or AVC tools are actually reused into HEVC with refinements. Okay? But the GOP structure, the KBAC entropy coding, the DCT, the deblocking filters, the quarter pixel motion estimation, all of this is reused within HEVC. Okay? So HEVC is really an extension of H.264 with improvements. But there are some serious improvements. The first one, you may have seen this kind of picture, is the use of large block compared to H.264. With HEVC, you can use 64 by 64 blocks. With H.264, you're limited to 16 by 16. So if you divide a picture in sub 16 by 16 blocks, like that you have to do for H.264, this is what I've done in this video, you can feel that you will have to encode each block with a certain number of bits. And because of the size of the block, you will have a high number of blocks to encode. And so there is a sort of flaw, in the encoding of H.264. Because there are so many blocks to encode and you need some bits for each block, there is a flaw. You can go lower than that flaw with H.264. What HEVC brings is the capability to encode blocks that are much bigger. And in addition to a bigger block, you can also divide these blocks in sub-blocks, and so that you can get an adaptation, a very good adaptation of the block structure to the content. So in areas where there is nothing really particular to encode or no information for the viewer, you can just encode with the higher block. And with, with areas, in areas where you have some content, contours, detail, then you can subdivide the block and adjust the block structure to the content, and then span the bits where they need to be spent. Right? So this is the major achievement of HEVC, the major feature of HEVC. It's probably responsible for half of the gain of HEVC compared to H.264. So that's what we think, at least. Well, the second, just one slide. If you remove that large block capability of HEVC, now you have also a greater accuracy in many aspects of HEVC, and especially in the prediction, the intra-prediction and the inter-prediction. You have many more modes here in HEVC compared to the 9 angular mode, for example, for intra-prediction. And so I have encoded this picture in intra mode only with 16 by 16 blocks in HEVC, just to separate the benefit coming from the large block 64 by 64 from the benefit coming from a greater accuracy in the prediction. So I have highlighted where the area where you can see at the same bit rate, the area where the H.264 intra is much worse, in fact, than the HEVC. I think hopefully it's visible here. It is? Okay. For interprediction, there is the same kind of greater accuracy also. And altogether, in fact, the video encoded with HEVC is showing a lower level of noise. Okay. And it's showing also a great stability in a temporal stability. So these two aspects of HEVC are highly subjective and gives a sort of bonus, if you will, in the comparison between HEVC and H.264. So now there is one aspect that is worth mentioning. I think it's actually very important, is that the gain that we see with HEVC is dependent on the resolution of the picture. On this graph, you have the gain that we see that we can expect with HEVC compared to H.264 versus the resolution of the video. And so in green is what we can expect. So today we don't know exactly, but it depends on the sequence, of course. So it's a sort of area where if you start from the right with Ultra HD, we are very confident that we'll be able to achieve 50%. Okay. We think we'll be able to achieve even 60%, and some people very optimistic believe they can go further, but you know, it's really too early. If we go down to a 1080p, we are reasonably confident that we will achieve the 50% gain compared to H.264. And if you go down to 720p, then we are a little more skeptical. We are not completely sure that we'll be able to achieve this 50%, but we'll be probably above 40, you know, 40, 45. That's what we believe today. What is important to notice is that when you go down to SD, we believe it will be very difficult to achieve this 50%. So this is, you know, usually there is a simplification that says HEVC is 50%. We don't think it is, you know, that simple, in fact. So now if you go down below SD resolution, you may go down also to a gain that's maybe not better than 15%, 10 or 15%. You know, so it's something that you need to have in mind. So HEVC is really the standard to push HD and Ultra HD. Now, how long will it take to get this HEVC? So the first thing is that it is, as it is very similar to H.264 technology, there is no gap really in the standard. So, you know, like we had before, from going to MPEG-2 to MPEG-4, we had to understand the KBAC, and we had to change the GOP structure and this kind of thing. So that took quite a long time to master. So with the move from H.264 to HEVC is more an evolution, and there is no gap really. So in fact, we've been able to develop a HEVC encoder very quickly compared to the time that we've need to develop the H.264 encoder. It's not, you know, we are not the only one in that case, probably because as you've seen, there are several vendors announcing products or launching or shipping even maybe products in HEVC for live and for file. Okay. So, of course, it is a little more complex to encode in HEVC because the algorithm is a little more complex. There are more tools, and the upgrade, to upgrade an encoder from H.264 to HEVC, you will need to add more resources, more hardware resources. You need to prepare for that, of course. So before you ask, so in fact it is today with the first implementation that we have done, we see a ratio of 1 to 5. Okay, so it's we need 5 times more resources to encode a live stream in HEVC compared to a live stream in H.264, assuming that we offer a target of that we offer a benefit of 20% gain compared to H.264. Okay. Now this is the first release. This is not completely optimized. Okay, so we know exactly what we need to do to go from this 5 to this to 3 or 4 or something like that. Okay. At the same time, we know we need to enrich the algorithm, so this will add some complexities also to the encoder. So where will it be? Will we be, 6 months or 1 year from now? It is really difficult to know. So just to give you a number, fair guess would be times 5, but we don't know for sure. That's what we have today, and we see reason to have same time 5 a year from now. So I was saying that there is some sort of acceleration between AVC and HEVC. this is a drawing of what we've done in our company with H.264. So H.264 was published in 2003. And so we had a first generation of encoder, second generation of encoder, and we crossed the 50% gain compared to MPEG-2 about 6 years after the standard was published. And we have continued, and we have now the third generation, and we are now 68% gain, so which is more than what was anticipated by the standard. If we continue with HEVC, so at product launch for HEVC, we have 20%. Okay, so at least with Thomson Video Networks, you should not expect 50% the first day. Okay, so that's. But we think we are able to achieve the 20% for live and for file, and we think that we'll be able to achieve or to come very close to the 50% sometimes in 2015, 16, something like that. So it's about 3 years. So if you compare the 6 years that were necessary for the HEVC standard to get to the 50%, to these 3 years that will be necessary for HEVC, there is a tremendous acceleration, in fact, of the technology. If you put some numbers on this curve, so this is the H.264 line that's going down very, very, very slowly. For 720p 25. So we have a lot of customers that are using that format at 3 megabit. Okay, so some are using 2.5, but we have many customers using this format at 3 megabit. So with the first release of HEVC, you can expect something, 20% lower, and for the same format, and we hope we'll be able to cross the 2 megabit line sometime in 2014. Okay, so next year. Okay, probably not before. Huh? I wish, but probably not. So, of course, if you reduce the bit rate, you reduce the cost for broadcasters and satellite TV operators. You will just cut on the distribution cost, and for telco and cable, you will relieve the strain on networks. Huh? Now, another way to look at the benefit of HEVC is on the ADSL or the DSL network. In the EU, 75% of people are receiving broadband or are connected to broadband through XDSL. So, and almost 40% of the people in Europe have a connection below 10 megabits. So they're all on XDSL at below 10 megabits. And you know that with DSL, the bandwidth you can get from the connection, it depends on the length of the connection of the telephone line. And so if you get 2 HD at 3 megabit, for example, to all the way to 2,500 meters, for example, with HEVC, you will be able to reach all the way to almost 4,500 meters with 2 HD. So you'll be able to deliver 2 HD to the home with HEVC. Not from the first day, of course, but eventually. So you're expanding eligibility tremendously. Okay, so we always talk about bit rates and cost saving. Another way to look at the HEVC benefit is for video quality improvement. Again, this is my 720p 25 AVC or H.264 line. 2013, the HEVC encoders will be able to achieve, at the same bit rate, 720p 50. So by doing that, in fact, you can move your service from 25 to 50 with the same bit rate and give to your subscriber or to your customers or viewers a video quality that's much improved because you're just removing jerkiness from the video on large televisions or even on some tablets. You can see the jerkiness for sport content, for example. So if you are an operator or if you're offering content on the internet, you can see that as a way to embark your viewers to the new standard by offering a new or an enhanced quality of experience, and then take benefit from the advances on compression to decrease your cost on the same 720p 50. Now, if you if you go 3 years from now, we should be able to do with the same bitrate the 1080p 25, right, in HEVC. So that will be maybe in 2015 or 2016 with the same, range of video quality, right? So 1080p 25 today in AVC is very costly. With HEVC, you'll be able to show, to distribute the same 3 megabit, but with the full resolution, the full HD resolution for movies. Right, so that's another benefit, in fact, of HEVC, is that you're improving the video quality, you're improving the quality of experience for your users with the same video, or with the same bit rate as what you're doing today with 720p 25. And then, of course, HEVC is opening the road to 4K, Ultra HD. So you say maybe this is very far down the road, but actually Ultra HD is, the momentum of Ultra HD is accelerating a lot. It's of course under the pressure and the marketing power of the TV manufacturers. Today, the number of displays that are shipped with 4K capability is maybe 0.5% of all the television that are sold. But if you look at the displays above 50 inches, it's actually 6% of the displays. So not all of these displays are capable of receiving 4K, but they have they have a 4K display with upscaling capability. Okay. So what they are missing today is the input for 4K. But it's important to see that already 6% of these displays are able to display 4K video, actually. And it's being seen as a very strong marketing differentiator, of course, by TV manufacturer, but it's also seen as a marketing differentiator for service operators. We have a lot of requests from pay TV satellite operator that want to launch 4K services, just because they are fighting against cable, and that's one difference that they see. So once you've bought an expensive, or maybe in 2 years from now it will be not so expensive 4K display, you will have pretty much 2 sources for the content, or 2 outlets. It's the satellite, because that there is absolutely no doubt that the pay TV satellite pay TV operators are going to deploy that. And you will have streaming. Streaming, at least for those who have the bandwidth, enough bandwidth to connect to a 4K streaming. So the only little problem with 4K is live production. So today there is no live production. You may have heard that the Olympics, the next Olympics, or the next World Cup there will be some experiments, some production in 4K, etc. But this will remain experiments, just to learn how to shoot in 4K. To have a live production in 4K mainstream, that's going to take a long time, because broadcasters need to upgrade their infrastructure to 4K, and you know that today they are not even all of them capable of HD. So if you look on a satellite, only maybe 10 or 15% of the channels on satellites worldwide are HD. The rest is still SD. So it will take time. But the content, of course, for movies and for shows that are captured and post-produced, there will be a 4K content. There will be enough 4K content to build even linear channels on satellite. So now the target bitrate, that's a fair guess, because It's not our first priority, but we believe we should be able to get to the 12, 15 megabit for a 4K at 50 hertz. So that's for sport content, the day it is needed. So today, the 4K, not almost all 4K content is in 25 hertz or 24. So we should be able to get, with the current possibility of an HEVC encoder in 2013, maybe at the same bit rates, but only for 25 hertz. So this is really the target bit rate for 3 or 4 years from now. 3 years from now. So, so what are the other remaining challenges? So that's view from an encoder vendor. Well, we wish we could find more players and decoders for HEVC, supporting HEVC. We have worked with some partners that provided us with HEVC players. So it is the beginning. Decoders we have not found yet. There are some announcements from Broadcom for the chip, so for mid next year. So I guess we'll see more players and we'll see more decoder chips coming in the next few months. There is no question about that. A lot of companies are working on it, so it's just a question of time. The other problem, well, it's not a problem. It's life as usual. It's interoperability. It has to be addressed. It is partially addressed, when we are developing our encoder with the help of partners who are providing players. It's already some sort of interoperability, but there is a global interoperability that need to be addressed, and so that will take a few months probably, so that everything is clear for everyone. But there is no surprise. It's the same thing happened for H.264, and the same thing happened for MPEG-2. So this is normal life. And there is the famous licensing issue. So I have nothing really smart to say about this. Okay, I have no information, but we would be very disappointed if this HEVC standard was not deployed just because of licensing issues. That would be a waste of energy and resources for the hundreds of companies who contributed to the standard. The purpose of a standard is to see the standard deployed. So we are very optimistic that these issues will be solved in the next months, in the next few months, and that we'll be able to, it will be risk-free to deploy HEVC for our customers. Plus, the gain of HEVC will be huge, and probably even if the licensing is not free, of course, it will still make sense to migrate to HEVC just to get the benefit of the bitrate. And so for sure, in fact, we believe the encoding part is not the blocking part in the process of deploying HEVC. There are probably other areas in the ecosystem where HEVC needs to be addressed. So that's what I have to say. About HEVC and OTT. I know some of you have prepared questions. You have any questions?
Okay, maybe I'll just ask a question. What do you think about the different profiles in HEVC, main 10, main, what type of approach you have to this?
So the main profile and the main 10. So we, in the beginning, we'll start with the main 10, the main profile. Main 10, for us, we think it's more appropriate for 4K. That's what will we will use main 10 for really super high definition or ultra definition. We think it is we've contributed in fact to this main 10 profile. We've made a contribution. We have proposed this to HEVC with others. We believe it's really adding something to the video experience for 4K. It will of course remove the banding problem that you even may see in HD. So you can make use of it in HD, but it's expensive, from an encoding perspective. So we believe we'll do that only for 4K at this point, at least in the short term. Not for OTT, SD, HD. But there is a real benefit to main 10. So main 10 is encoding the video with 10 bits instead of 8 bits. Okay.
You said earlier that it would be necessary to invest 5 times as many servers or processing power in order to make a stream. Isn't that going to be a big challenge for operators, that they have to invest so much money on top of their legacy for something which has
Yes.
many other issues?
Yes, probably. So it's hard to imagine that operators are going to switch to HEVC, like that as soon as the encoder is ready. So they will start with trials. They will, they will look at the benefit they can get from HEVC, the actual gain they can measure, and these kind of things. Plus, you cannot remove the H.264 encoding anyway, right? So you have to maintain that. So it's HEVC at the beginning. It's just extra cost. Plus, as there is no player, there is almost no player, no decoder, no smart TV. So to make a real benefit of the deployment of HEVC, you need to have all those devices, at least a serious number of devices capable of receiving HEVC. So it will take time. And the more important thing today is to be able to show some gain. Okay. So in the meantime, we continue to work, and we have, as I said, we believe we should be able to decrease that ×5 to maybe ×4 and ×3 for the same 20% gain. And so there will be a different approach for customers. Some will be, they will be able to pay a lot of money just to get the gain, and some will just want the HEVC. And so they will not have the same requirement on density, right? So, and of course, if you do file transcoding, then maybe you don't have, you're more relaxed on the density, or not the density, but the resources to encode. So today, the priority is not to do HEVC with the same resources as you're doing H.264, but really to get to the gain, the bitrate gain. And eventually, with new Intel chips, you will get more cores and more. So it will be maybe more resources, but it may not be much more hardware, a year from now. So that's how we see it. We focus on the algorithm today. Okay. Thank you.